Hi everyone, this is Emma LaFleur, and the three best teaching strategies that I chose for my Impact of Linguistics paper are word sorts, alphabet books, and sentence combining strategies. So the first one is using word sorts to teach affixes and root words, and this can be used for morphology and semantics, and the domains it includes is reading and writing. So this definitely helps students use morphology because they see how they can break down words and they see how they can recognize the affixes in root words when they see other words that they come across in their day-to-day lives or through their reading while they're in the class. So for this activity, you should give students a table with the affixes or root words that you're teaching listed at the top of each column, and then give students a list of words and have them categorize the words under the correct root or affix that's listed in the table. For this, I really like it because you can actually go a step farther, and this is where the semantics gets into it, and have the students use the words from the word sort in a sentence, or have them define the word by translating it or writing down the definition, or doing other activities like drawing a picture or giving examples or finding synonyms. So there's lots of various ways that you can take this a step farther. Another thing that I really like about the word sorts, and actually all three of the strategies that I chose, is that they're very flexible. You can use this for any age level, grade level, and any subject really. I'm going to teach history at the high school level. So the examples that I have created for my slideshow here pertain to that. So I created kind of just a small example. An actual lesson would be a bit bigger than this, of course. So my three, I chose Latin root words, and the three that I chose are jur, which means law, chrono, which means time, and pac, which means peace. And on the bottom here, I have chronology, pacifist, judicial, jury, compact, and chronicle. So I'd want students to put chronology with chrono, chronicle with chrono, pacifist with pac, compact with pac, and then judicial might be a little bit difficult just because it's not jur, it's Jew. But I think students could still see that, and it's good for them to know that the root word isn't going to be in another word in its whole form. It might just be a piece of it, like JU instead of JUR. And then jury would go under jur as well. And then I would have them give me an example. In history class, we put events in chronological order. We use chronology. Pacifists are people who do not want to fight. They keep peace. They look for peace. Judicial and jury, the judicial branch, courts, the court system, jury, they make decisions on the law in a courtroom. Compact, like the Mayflower Compact, an agreement between people, things like that. My second strategy is creating alphabet books or presentations. So this can be used for definitely phonology and semantics again. And this is using the writing and speaking domains. So the directions for this activity, and again, I have examples on my next slide that I'll go over, is that either after completing a unit or at the beginning of the unit when you teach the vocabulary of that unit, have students create a book or a slideshow presentation using one word for the unit for each letter of the alphabet. So if it's a unit about fruit, A is for apple, B is for banana, and so on and so forth. And then you can also have students, depending on the level that they're at, have students define the word, describe its importance, or use it in a sentence in their presentation or book. And then I would give students the option of creating a book or a slideshow presentation, because not all students are going to like to draw and create something more artistic, while other students may not be as comfortable using the computer and they'd rather do something by hand. I like this because it's a great way to work with the English alphabet and learn the content. And with a presentation, you get to hear the students pronounce every letter of the alphabet. And I really like it because it requires a lot of creativity in most cases to use all the letters. The letters Q, X, and Z are very difficult, and the students really have to be creative to find something that fits those letters. So for my examples, something kind of way more advanced would be this African Traditions book that I found a picture of online, Ashanti to Zulu. So the book has a page about Ashanti, information about the Ashanti, and then it goes on until it reaches Zulu. This is something more of what I would be looking for, kind of after a World War II unit. I would use this kind of more as a summative piece. So H is for Hiroshima, and then they describe what Hiroshima was, why it was important. And then they would go on to the next letters. And this would be kind of, this looks to me like more of a beginner's. A is for American flag. So lower level L's could definitely do something like this. A is for American flag. B is for something else. So it's definitely something that you can scaffold and work with different levels too. My last strategy is sentence combining. And this is used for syntax. And you can, depending on how you do this in the classroom, it can use all domains. So for this activity, you give students a set of very simple sentences. And then if you need more scaffolds, if you're working with lower level L's, you can give the students a word bank of transition words, signal words, or conjunctions. And then in a group or on their own, so this is where the listening piece comes in if they're doing group work, have the students combine the sentences so that they make 2 or 3 longer sentences out of that small set of simple sentences. And you can work your way up, start with 2 sentences and make them make 1 sentence, and then give them a whole number of sentences and have them make a paragraph. So when they're creating the more compound and complex sentences, their sentences must keep the meaning of the passage intact, which I really like because I think that helps students read something and then put it in their own words, which I see every day that students have a really hard time with. Instead of putting things in their own words, they just copy it down, which doesn't tell me that they understand it. It's just that they were able to find the answer and decode that that was the answer, not that they made any meaning out of it. So by having them put it in a different way, they are putting it in their own words. So it's working on syntax, but it's also working on this extra skill, which is super important for students. And then you can have students share their work in small groups. Or if they did the assignment in a group, then you can have them share their work with the class. And that way, students get to see different ways of putting sentences together, and they can use the strategies that their classmates used in the future. So I have one example here, again, pertaining to history. So my 4 sentences are: jury trials are fundamental civil liberty. Juries make civil decisions. Those decisions are given to a judge. And then finally, in a bench trial, all decisions are made by judges. So then I took those 4 sentences and I wrote, in the US, jury trials are a fundamental civil liberty because the US uses juries to make legal decisions. Unless it is a bench trial where all decisions are made by judges, when juries make their decision, they give it to the judge. I made a small typo there. That should be made, not mine. But that's an example of, I took these 4 sentences and I put it in my own words. I made more complex sentences, and I kept the meaning of what the 4 sentences were trying to say. So those are my 3 strategies for my Impact of Linguistics paper. I'm definitely looking forward to looking at the rest of your strategies. Thank you so much, and I hope you all enjoy your winter break.